Hey everyone, welcome back to CryptoCache. Thanks again for joining me here. I hope you're having a fantastic day. Holy hell, crazy market here today, folks. I cannot believe that we came down sub 50K for Bitcoin when we were literally up in the 70K range last week. So again, pretty insane. That is absolutely filtering in here to Solana. So the key takeaway here, or what I want to kind of cover, is just some key fib levels, make sure we understand support resistance ranges, and just maybe some best practice for situations like this, and maybe consider adding some some spot orders too, some limit orders, just in case you get filled. I mean, who would have thought 110 would be a thing for Solana when we were at 195 less than a week ago? So that's pretty insane. A lot of this is fundamental catalyst though, so keep that in mind as well. The market over in Japan has taken a tumble and it's kind of filtering over into traditional markets. Trillions of dollars getting liquidated, and regular markets causes the crypto market to get impacted, right? So just keep that in mind. It has a lot to do with it. It's not just like there's some crazy hidden bearish divergence and the price just dropped. It's not quite the case. It'd be nice to blame it on a technical, catalyst, but it's all fundamentals at this point, which does flaw the technical analysis to an extent, right? Those key support levels, 0.618 fib levels, we were supposed to have had a bounce. It didn't even matter. Okay, so again, when we're supposed to see low volume, low volatility on the weekends, that was the exact opposite yesterday. Either way you look at it, let's take a look here at the liquidation. Before we get started though, please hit the like button. Comment below, greatly appreciate it. So Solana, what are we looking at here? This is liquidation levels. We can see 110 obviously is that lowest point, the lowest candle wick. And then of course we got 135 as the upper range here so far. This doesn't tell us too much, but it does indicate that we have some liquidation events between 145 and 150. Okay, those are shorts from over the weekend basically. We take a look here, we zoom in a little bit further, we can see roughly the same thing. This is a little more descriptive though, tells us we got about 500 million here, 500, 400, 500. So approximately $2 billion in liquidation between 145 and 150. Okay, so it does imply that that level could get swept, but it just also means too that we've got a lot of resistance. And here's the thing, here's the reason why those areas exist. If you take a look here, this red box that I have here, the rectangle, that's the volume profile range. So this is the range here of, from a macro perspective, of the largest amount of buying pressure between 130 and 145. That was supposed to have held as a support. Didn't matter because of how crazy things were moving, but the consensus here is that this is going to work as a resistance level for us, so it's going to be hard to get through that. All the liquidation we see is right here in this range, just above that pocket. Okay, so keep in mind there's a reason why liquidation levels are accumulated at specific areas, because they're just above key level resistances. Once again, these liquidation events are the effect, not necessarily the cause. Okay. I'll explain more about that here in a minute. When I look at the daily time frame, what I want to look at here, in fact, let's actually start with the weekly first, kind of work our way down and kind of see, because we got this 0.618 fib level, and just to keep in mind too, I have a larger macro perspective pulled up here. So this is the fib levels from here down about $80 roughly, upwards of 210. Okay, because again, that was a more distinct pullback. So if you can kind of see here, this is the upper wave, if you will, here, if you're considering Elliott wave, or just in general, it's the most substantial increase we've seen since we had a period of consolidation on retracement. All that being said, this estimate between 80 and 210 puts us at the current price. 130 is that key fib level. That's a golden pocket. And if you can see here, it's pretty obvious how much the price action is hanging out right here. 1 wick, 2 wick, 3 wicks, 4, 5, 6, 7, and now 8 attempts to break below that level. We haven't broken it yet officially because they're all candle wicks. They're not candlesticks actually, or bodies closing at that level. So this is good news in a sense. So a closure between 125 and 130 is extremely important for Solana. So that's kind of what we're looking at here so far for the weekly. Crazy thing is this hammer doji candle here had just started. Like that's like 12 to 16 hours new, which is crazy because we saw a massive correction of about 32% from last week's candle. It's one of the larger ones we've seen here. We have seen bigger ones, but it's uncommon. Okay, so again, a lot of reasons why this is just a very, very bad week for Bitcoin, and that's filtering into here to Solana. Fun fact, last week's candlestick for Bitcoin, basically this most recent one that just closed here on Sunday, that is that's the largest correction we've seen since FTX back in November 22. So if you saw FTX, you were there for that, you would know how catastrophic that was to the market. And it's a big old reset button. So don't expect crazy things to happen. Like I wouldn't expect to see 70,000 or higher for a very long time for Bitcoin, even though it has a broadening a descending broadening wedge, and maybe even a bull flag, depending on the time frame you're looking at. It's not going to happen right away, right? So again, remember the analogy, folks. If you've heard this before, you've been watching me for a while, you'll probably know. You may even roll your eyes at hearing this. But if you've known, have you ever fallen down a flight of stairs? Just a quick question, pop quiz. Have you ever done that, right? And if you have, the short answer is you'll know it takes a long time to recover from that. The chances of being, very, very long-term damage from that is a pretty large probability. So what I'm getting at here is, imagine falling down a flight of stairs versus just kind of tripping down the very last step, right? You're probably going to get up, you can brush it off and be okay. But Bitcoin fell down a flight of stairs and the whole rest of the market with it. Do you really expect the market just to shoot back up as if, what these moon boys are saying? Probably, at least I presume they're saying that right now, that we're going to go to the moon. It's a very low probability for it to happen right away. I think macro, we're still looking good. Overall, Bitcoin's not in terrible shape, but to expect, 60, 70K range again for Bitcoin, or in this case, 200 plus for Solana, I think it's a tall order. And I think we should be realistic with the fact that it's unlikely it's going to happen. But this massive hammer doji candle is a good start, showing that we've wicked all the way down and we've shown a lot of buying pressure in the 130 range, and that's a good sign. Okay, so let's focus on the positive, I guess, or just in general. Let's be realistic here. Because focusing on positive is okay, don't get wrong, but you can't blindly just be like, oh, we're good, when the whole market is crap. That being said, we look at the moving averages, we're below all four. Obviously, everything's going to look bearish right now. We're also, and this is interesting too, Bitcoin is tentatively below 30 on the RSI here, whereas Solana is not. Okay, so that goes to show that Solana either A, hasn't hit its bottom, or it has good solid support in this range, which I'm more so leaning towards that. Because if you look at this, these are every time we see the price action try to come down to the 130 and it recovers. Okay. Now, granted, the more often you test something more like it is a break, we could very well see a break to the downside. A lot of it hinges on Bitcoin. If Bitcoin goes down to 53, 52, perhaps even 46K to swipe the rest of the last remaining liquidation, then yeah, we're going to see Solana the low hundreds, possibly even double digits. That's the thing. So set your limit orders if you are convinced. I've set a lot of limit orders for Bitcoin. Easy rule of thumb is just every 500. So 54,000, 53.5, 53 even, 52.5, etc. Just fill your bags and get those bigger as they come down. Okay, and just kind of gradually increase the amount as the price pulls back. Anyways, it's easier said than done. A lot of people don't have dry powder, but our community does, thankfully, because we weren't getting too crazy. We took a ton of shorts last week, took a lot of profit, and then we took a long at 60,000 on Bitcoin, and I think, we took a long at the original 0.618 fib level for Solana too, and we had to close those early. Glad I did, because they would have been terrible trades hadn't we had actual stop losses there. So that's, again, all the more reason to remember that stop losses are your friends, folks. Okay. Anyways, the daily time frame looks terrible. There's no other way around it, but we have a small amount of support at this 130. We've already recognized that. We can see here, so far the MACD is converging, which hasn't fully converged yet, but is trying. That's a very standard thing when the price pulls back so hard. Like, they could literally go sideways and still converge, right? So I'm not really super convinced that we're back on track. However, we are over 30 again on the RSI, kind of broken through that threshold, so to speak, so we're no longer diverging. You should have secured profits on your short position if you haven't already. I don't know who you are to have shorted this and not taken profits yet, but that is just ridiculous in my personal opinion. Anyways, having said that, stochastic RSI is swinging up. We're starting to see a shift in momentum. It's pretty obvious. This very large volume candle here from 110 roughly upwards to 130. So it's safe to say right now that the price action looks like it wants to hold the 130 level. But it also just depends on Bitcoin. Is Bitcoin going to maintain itself here at 55K or 54? What's it going to do here? Okay. So there's really truly no way to anticipate the best way to take a trade right now, because there's tons of bearish divergences, but we're also seeing some short-term shifts in momentum, right? That's very standard. And again, the best practice in a situation like these, folks, I know you don't like to hear it, is just to take a break and to not trade. I don't understand how crazy people have to be with trading, and they just feel like they're just FOMOing everything. Like, if you're a day trader, maybe, yeah, sure, totally, take some trades. But if you're swing trading and maybe a little bit more casual, even if this is your full-time job, do you really want to risk your portfolio on some trades that may or may not work out? There's not a lot of confirmation right now. We're stuck under this resistance range between 130 and 145. Until we break or close soundly above this 0.5 fib level at 145 or higher, I'm not convinced that Solana's back on track. Okay, and you shouldn't be either. While Solana does recover better than Bitcoin in most cases, it's finally, I think, found its bottom. We still got a strong amount of resistance above us, and it's not really good conditions to trade. Having said that, though, the lagging span is getting close to the price action. So again, that's just reaffirming the fact that you should secure profits on your short. Close your trade, dummy. I don't know how else to say it. Okay, and we take a look here as well. We can see that we are breaking through the cloud here within the next 5 to 10 hours, potentially. Okay, so basically what that means here is at 130, we got this 0.618 fib level. I'm rounding up a little. 130 is roughly the range there. If we close above 125 or 130, we have a solid chance of the price consolidating and continuing higher. Okay, again, if Bitcoin can just hang out and stabilize for a moment. If it doesn't, then we're going to see a different story altogether, and it's just one of those situations where you got to be patient. I don't know if that's something that you can do, but good traders are patient traders, and I think we would just want to wait for an opportunity here until that happens. What we can do also, and I'll post this on our playout chart too. We can kind of work within this descending trend too. We have officially broken the short-term descending trend line, so that's a good sign, telling us that we have shifted that momentum, so to speak. We're no longer establishing lower highs and lower lows consistently. However, we need to make sure that we establish higher highs and higher lows first before we take a trade, right? That's generally just, again, best practice. So it's not exact, folks, never is. And in this market right now, lately, I've been waiting for opportunities to happen, like, for example, waiting for confirmation, and it doesn't confirm, it keeps going down. There's a lot of that happening right now. So please know we're in a resistance range right now, and until we close at 145 or higher, we're not going to be in really good shape. However, a closure above 130 is a good sign to let us know that we're holding above that 0.618 fib level. All right, folks, again, I'll post this playout chart here in our Twitter, Telegram, and Discord if you want any other info. It's all available here. Future reference, we have a new CME gap for Bitcoin between 59.5 and 62.5. That essentially created itself as a result of filling the previous. Okay, so all that's there available as well if you're curious. Hope you all have a good rest of your day. Thanks again so much for your time. We'll see you the next one. Take care.